line, it turns into a scrappy team fight fest. You might expect it here today. Last time we saw AHQ play, of course, they had Westor sported the Cassiopeia. We saw the Jinx. So it feels like we just went back into the time machine. So I'm okay with that. I mean, as an analyst, no, but as an audience member, yes, I would like to. I would like to. It's been entertaining.
And there's been a gambit thrown by HQ in both games, a ticking time bomb, if you will. Remember, game one was Ziv on the Jax. They tried to make that work.
Yeah.
They tried to quarter in around split push. In the end, the Jax was taking a mid lane turret while the game was ending. So you would say that fell in the not good column. But going with on Jinx, who, if you followed the interview, was kind of surprised to find himself falling on the Jinx, putting all the eggs in the Jinx basket. A 2015 Flash Wolves play worked really good for AHQ. And I wonder, is it going to be everything on Westor? Will we see Westor try to warp the game with one of his 1-3-1 champions? Will they return to one of Ziv and An? The reason why I think yesterday on the desk we're talking about who do you start from from the LMS side, we said AHQ, because they've already shown two very separate styles.
Yeah.
I still feel like AHQ, they've got more to show us.
Yeah, they do. I think that the combinations, like for instance, top lane, I actually wanted to see if Ziv can go towards like a Rumble pick, if he can go towards the Kled that we've seen time and time again and look for those skirmish, scrappy fights that they can go towards and kind of make it very uncomfortable for Audi and Clearlove because they're, I would say, we already talked about the synergy not being there just yet, and that can be a good advantage to them.
I think it has to be, because if you're running Audi, you have to be looking for a counter pick, or at least looking for a blind Fiora and saying, hey, what you got? If you don't have the synergy with the jungler, these sort of matchups that Audi is picking into, the Cannons, the Fioras, the Camille's of the world, are swing matchups that can snowball heavily the other way. So I think we need to see Clearlove showing more support, the team rotating around Audi, because it's one thing picking someone into a matchup, it's the other thing actually playing around the matchup that you've set up.
Yeah, and in this tournament, I mean, AHQ have just looked incredibly good, especially against like the likes of KT, for example. And then going into this matchup with EDG, do you actually weight it to one side or the other, or is this an extremely close horse race?
Reading EDG right now is so hard.
It's hard.
I had some faith in them against Samsung when Samsung was faltering. Samsung were able to win there. Yesterday, they kind of eroded any faith, but I feel like the draft has to be cleaner from EDG this time around. I don't really know where to read this series. I'm on the AHQ side of the coin, which to me is a big surprise. But just with this tournament, it's already had its different ebbs and flows. So I think AHQ should come in favorites.
And I'll take EDG just because I think that they'll go towards their bottom lane matchups. And I think we'll see a Varus, for instance, coming in from Zed.
All right, thanks so much, guys. For now, we're going to send it over to the casters for the call.
Thank you very much, Pulse, and I'm very excited to be joined by Froskerin and Rusty because I feel like I've gone back in the time machine. It's like it's 2016 again, just ready to cast some LPL, but there's some LMS thrown in there as well.
I'd almost rather go back to 2016 than our 2017 performance of this tournament, so get me in that time machine. I'm ready for the Jinx Cassie.
Just not 2015, 16. We'll stick with 16.
We were already in that time machine. Raz brought it up earlier on. We are going to be jumping into Champion Select, and we're going to see whether or not we'll get that Cassiopeia once again, as LeBlanc is going to be the first one banned away by AHQ. And in response, it's going to be that Elise.
And I'm going to disagree a bit with the analyst desk. I think it's a huge question mark to bring in Audi over Mouse. Mouse is the veteran player on this team. He has a more diversified style. He can play both the carries as well as kind of the 5v5 style. And putting in a rookie on an international stage across from the likes of Ziv, such a renowned talent throughout the LMS and the world, that's a huge flag for me. I think EDG, this is a very strange call to make.
I mean, Ziv is such a good player that bringing in a rookie is a risk. At the same time, Mouse can play those carries, but can he play the Fioras as well as Audi can, which we have seen domestically?
Well, we'll see whether he is going to be able to get something like that Fiora once again. Of course, they did make a comp around it last time, and it flat out didn't work. It didn't work so much, we had our most one-sided game of the tournament. So this could be a difficult one, as Albus is looking to get priority here with the Thresh pickup. As you can see, the bans have completed. Callista once again banned on that blue side, and the Zac as well. And Caitlyn, Galio, Elise is going to round it out for Edward Gaming.
So now it's the question of what does Mako feel comfortable taking to the Thresh? There's still a high priority supports like the Rakons, like the standard
I want the
ROMs.
Froskerin. That's what I want.
I was actually thinking, now this sounds interesting, the Zyra. Now Zyra is very fragile. I'm going to call it almost like a skill-based matchup.
You never have to sell me on Zyra.
It's hard to play Thresh into Zyra just because she can block out a lot of the plants, but if she ever does catch you, you're pretty much absolutely dead.
Well, this would be exciting if the Katarina was being considered. Gragas and the Varus to be locked in here for EDG. Clearlove looking like he will be picking up that Gragas for the jungle. Definitely an old comfort pick for him.
And what it does dissuade is it also moves Mountain away from the likes of the Rek'Sai. You know, you can see him already trying to solidify towards the Lee Sin. We know that in the LPL, they like to take Gragas into Rek'Sai because it interrupts some of her interactions that she wants to prepare in team fights.
Yeah, certainly, of course. Once you're looking towards AHQ, they've got their Thresh. They can pick any AD in the world, so they don't need to rotate it this early. Of course, there is the exposure with a Varus locked Kalista Caitlyn ban that the second ban phase would be risky for them. And if they do lock in their mid laner here, which again expected is Taliyah versus Corki, because that just seems to be the matchup, it does leave that as a potential ban list.
I think it's very interesting, though, that they're prioritizing the Taliyah over the Corki. For me, we talked about this over the course of the tournament. I feel like he's almost must-ban, must-pick. He just spikes on every single item. He has the ability to be a playmaker in both those side lanes, and then is hyper-scaling, whereas Taliyah is more of that utility late game.
Well, also, Westor's now going to be trying his hand on the Taliyah when it was Chowie picking it up in their first game. Not quite able to find success, but it was difficult opposition for AHQ, their first outing. Clear minion waves. Renekton going to be banned and Fiora banned as well, understandably against Audi.
And you'd expect to see that the Ashe would also be penched here since Varus is already there. You don't want to just give on one of his comfort champions. I try to force him a little bit more outside the meta, but you still have things like the Kalista also available.
Well, no, you don't. It was banned second off, and I think the Jinx ban is probably going to come in second time around. No, it's going to be the Jax.
Nope, they're actually hard focusing that top lane. And the question for me here is, what can Audi play? You've got your Renekton, Jax,
not Camille.
Fiora, Camille, all banned away. Does he default to a Kled, which is like, you're better off just having Mouse in that case, right? Is it just the J4? Because it's this nice middle ground between carry and tankiness? Because I feel like those champions are the only direction that he can go now.
And Ziv, of course, has the opportunity of heading towards something like the Gnar that we've been talking about a lot. Haven't seen it yet in this best of 5 series. Could be an opportunity. Ziv, of course, playing it in the past. Powerhouse top laner for a very long time, but Kled is another one that is still available.
Yep.
Saw it in the last game. Didn't necessarily find success for OMG, but they're going to try his hand at it.
And already both compositions have so many different layers of kind of CC and how they want to set up team fights in these 5v5s, manipulating terrain like the Taliyah wall, being able to run people down with the Kled charger, isolating targets with Varus ultimate with Gragas ult. So there's so many options for both AHQ and EDG.
And of course, now it's going to be not about that split push necessarily. Both Jarvan and Kled, you know, Kled fantastic initiation with the charge, as well as Jarvan being able to annoy people with that big cataclysm. So we are going to be seeing more 5v5 focus, not necessarily these Fioras or Jaxes.
And I will say, I'm a bit surprised to see On go towards the Xayah. I know that she's been coming back as kind of the big pick for this tournament, but I just feel like there's so many different tools and threats on the side of EDG for a mid-range AD carry, the Gragas cast in particular.
Yeah, one step further as well, though. Mako with the last pick, picking support last as well.
And not going
They
Braum.
don't go Braum. They go for the Tahm Kench, which is a pick away from the Thresh to deny the Thresh pick. At the same time, if you went Braum, you'd be denying Xayah. So there was a very clear focus here from the side of EDG as to what they'd like to best.
And what it does open up for them is it allows them to play kind of those side lanes. Again, if you have Corki who's flying out using his mobility on the package, now you can follow that up with the Abyssal Voyage. We always say that EDG are strongest when they unlock Mako, get him around the map, and that could have been one of the deciding factors. Braum, yeah, you'd get a bit more security denying Xayah in the lane, but Tahm Kench, after level 6, allows you to impact more of the map.
Well, of course, we'll see whether he's going to be able to get anything done as we hop onto the Rift. But Tahm Kench has seen a lot of priority, maybe not as much success as we have seen him in other regions. But the Thresh coming out of Albus scares me because LMS with Thresh is such a frightening prospect this tournament because setting up picks in the mid game is just what this region is all about.
And we've already seen, you know, how important this matchup is. If AHQ win this, it keeps the LMS alive towards Game 5. So you have to think, looking past this, it's RNG versus Machi. You would say that unless Machi find another miracle, that should go to the LPL. So this is probably the most important matchup of this entire best of 5.
Certainly is.
Yeah, but Scout does have that Corki. Massive power pick there in the mid lane. He sat behind Pawn for so long. We know Pawn is the ultimate god of of the old Corky. Seen it banned away from him in this tournament as well. I say ultimate god, it's Pon. This guy plays all sorts of crazy, but he's the melee Corky master, and I'd like to see some aggression out of Scout to take over the lane.
Melee Corky master. I mean, unfortunately for Scout, he
plays melee Corky.
He just sit in the shadow of Faker and then Pon. I feel like
yeah,
the LPL
probably should we talk about Faker first?
Maybe. I'll leave that to you.
Hey, look, a lot of players have sat in the shadow of Faker, and some of them have not necessarily got the success that Scout has. Probably should we talk about alluding to the old easy move. Unfortunate. We are under Summoner's Rift here. Hey, look, Zet is just pacing up and down the river. No funny business to start things off. No blitzcranks in this particular game. See who's going to be able to make the good first move.
Not to be seen, of course. You'd still start with this jungle position if you're looking at Mountain. What can he get done? Which lane does he want to get the ganks off? Thresh is a very easy lane for him to gank if he would like. Xayah as well. Very nice compounding duo if EDG's coming at them. And the reason that I bring this up as well is you get the vision. You almost want Clearlove to come to the 2v2 so that you can counter it.
And that's an easy assumption to make. You're against EDG, like Papa was staying on the desk. Edward Gaming really haven't changed their dynamic that much. It's still about the bottom lane. It doesn't matter that it's not Def there, that it's Zet trying to fill in those shoes. And over the course of this tournament, we saw the very early Cheese Evelyn gank. I almost expect to see the same thing on the Gragas, but we'll keep our eyes on these jungle starts.
You know, weirdly enough, though, Clearlove, now that he's added the 7 to his name, has diversified at least here and there and has actually looked towards the top lane, but only really when Mouse is playing. When Audi's here, he almost has to go top just because of the state of the laning in a 1v1 type of scenario, not going for it.
Is it going to be different now that it's a Jarvan towards the top side of the map, though? Because Audi's not necessarily on these scaling champions. His early game should be a little bit more shorter.
Easy to gank for still if you're looking at the Jarvan, so in terms of that respect, it's possible, but really, I mean, it just comes down to Clearlove's preference, and bottom's always the place you'd look.
But I do want to quickly talk about the jungle start. So we saw that both Albus and On sacrificed their ability to get to the lane, put themselves on the right foot, because they gave a hard leash to Mountain. Now, I actually value this start more over than what Clearlove did, just because I feel like it gives you that small tempo advantage in the jungle, which has been so game-changing that we've seen when it comes to eking out level 6 early, or just being a little bit faster on rotation for an early gank.
Heading towards this blue buff, now Mountain's going to finish it in a much faster clip than that of Clearlove. Possibly looking towards the top side after that, but you can see the lane is very neutral at the moment. Audi not doing too badly as they get to that level 2 mark.
And junglers may actually meet each other here in the middle. We've got Clearlove going over towards his Raptors. He's actually quite behind in experience and farm, only 2 CS, as he's gone buff to buff to protect those major objectives.
But this vision that Mountain's going to place down here on the Raptor camp is what a hard leash like his bottom lane gives him in return. So he gets the vision on the Raptor camp. He might go to look for the Krugs. Actually, he's just going to hide and look to find the jump on Clearlove.
Clearlove's heading into this brush here, so he's going to easily steal those Krugs away as Mako spits out Zet, tries to get some auto attacks into Albus here towards the bottom side of the map.
Small detail, but what's important is that Zet pops himself out of the mouth sideways, so there's no double plays, which is really nice of Albus to be stepping up aggressively after the hook connects. Just small intricacies in that little trick.
Good to know that Albus is still fantastic on the Thresh. Clearlove pops over and wonders where his Krugs went. There's one making his way back home, but that is not what he wants.
And you can see why there's no help going to come to him. Ziv has the push on Audi. He's stuck under the turret, and Scout, he's in an equal 1v1. Now has to show some respect, perhaps.
Yeah, looking like a 1v2 at the moment, but Mountain's passing through. There it is.
And this is a defining feature of Scout, just the pathing right there. He knows that the flick's going to come from behind. He himself, a very accomplished Taliyah player, and he's taken after, you know, the fathers before him, the pawns and the fakers. He'll step forward. He's never going to back down from a trade.
Good to see. No seismic shoves going to be hitting Scout. We'll see whether Westall decides to play melee seismic shove Taliyah and just puts the seismic shove
zoning seismic shove.
Yeah, it's like you can't walk forward now. What are you going to do? Probably walk back, I would say. But Westall, of course, well and truly out of mana at this stage, throwing pebbles around the mid lane.
You've highlighted the level 6 spikes that can come out of these teams earlier, Frostgren, but ultimately I'd still be looking towards EDG as having the better spike through their bottom lane. Not just for Mako being able to roam, but for the Varus having engage. Because then the follow-up, when you've got a Jarvan who can teleport Clearlove to be nearby, usually it'll coincide with Scout having a package at that time of the game. It's a really good opportunity for them to actually look at expanding the map, growing a lead from nothing, because they've got a Mountain Drake up.
Which is why they need to secure this pathway here. We call this the Silk Road in the LPL. LPL. It's about making sure that you have vision control over the Raptor camp and opening up this pathway behind the Dragon Pit so you can get the Corki and the Gragas down there.
Speaking of the Corki, Scout's actually taking a lot of damage here against Westor, who's been able to hold his mana bar at extraordinarily low for most of this lane phase and still get the damage down to Scout that he needs to.
It's because he's harassing Scout explicitly, so he'll keep up the mana from the last hitting with the Doran's Ring, but at the same time, if you're using your E and your Q, you'd run out of mana very quickly through these trades, where Corki can auto-attack to best you.
He is not necessarily going to find it just here. 43 CS for the Corki, though, as he heads back home, and Westor has missed quite a few there in the mid lane.
The classic run at you, try to cancel the back.
Yep, times it with a cannon wave too, so Scout will be a happy camper.
I see why Westor always falls behind in CS.
Wanders at people instead of actually last hitting.
It's about sending a message.
Yes, I like it. Message received. Arn going to get hit by a few abilities and some auto attacks there from Zet, but should be okay here in this lane with the support of Albus. This lane is very close.
It's more like power walking. Have you ever been aggressively power walked at, Atlas?
I've aggressively power walked myself. I like to think that I'm a very good speed walker. I've demonstrated it before.
Can confirm, have seen your
runners.
Oh
yeah. Oh, it's good. Oh, it's good. It's something that you can't really describe very well on broadcast.
I'm sure everyone gets a great mental image.
I've watched the Olympics,
seen, like, the Olympic walking? Works. Yeah, that's exactly
rather scary to think about.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Now just think of me doing the best. Get in there. Okay. Zed is going to keep killing minions. The bottom lane has equalized. You can see Scout makes his way back in with a Sheen, as Westor's taking a lot of damage. Rocket's coming in now from Scout, but he has that level 6.
And that's twice that these trades have actually happened for Westor, pushing up aggressively to use the shove, where Scout just stands and delivers. And so the third time might be the charm here for the Tele. Actually keep your eye out for that, if he adapts on the fly. And then we'll start winning these trades. At the very least, he is controlling the minion waves and trying to prevent Scout from getting anywhere. In 1 minute, though, there is a package.
There's a lot of vision available here for AHQ in EDG's jungle.
Yeah, Mountain's trying to abuse Clearlove's back. I do want to point out that Clearlove made a very clever back, so for those of you in solo queue, backing just out of vision of the Krug camp.
Well, Ziv is actually going to win the trade towards the top side, as the Jarvan was wanting to come over and stop this red steal, but it's just not going to happen. Albus available if Mountain wants to get that safeguard, but he wants to stay aggressively positioned.
He may actually look for a dive top lane because he's got the Thresh here. It is far more realistic, and they're going.
Yep, Charge is going to come in. There's the flash kick as Ziv is going to knock him up into the air there as well. Out he tries to get back with Cataclysm as Ziv's taking a lot of damage, but he'll be untargetable. That's going to get the reset on the aggro, and AHQ look great towards the top side.
And it's just too easy there. I want to give a special shout out to the back timers of Albus in particular, making sure that he's synced up with Mountain and adding the extra security of having Thresh in the back pocket for that dive.
Massive damage will obviously come down onto this structure. They've hard committed to taking it. Again, Audi is about to respawn, but he doesn't have the teleport. And so this gank to the top lane is massive for opening up all of Summoner's Rift for themselves. EDG on the flip side can barely actually get a trade out. Could look towards the Mountain Drake, but even then it just takes so long to do. I don't know if that's realistic to consider.
On needs to be very careful approaching this tower. He does have Feathered Storm, Dance?
Feather Storm?
Feathers.
Storm. He's got the feathers.
Lots of them.
He can dodge the CCs.
He can, but he can't dodge losing first brick towards the top side of the map, as Ziv is going to easily cut that one down.
Wow, and EDG just kind of passively watch AHQ take control of the game.
And scarily, I just don't think there was a trade immediately available for them. And if they did look towards a trade, it would be a hard force. And that's super risky, especially with just how clean it was from AHQ on the top side of the map. Albus, no one expected him to be there with boots of mobility that early.
While I agree with that, I feel like because it is a higher priority dragon like a Mountain versus an Ocean or a Cloud, that it's almost kind of risk versus reward of trying to make a hard force bottom. You knew that the jungler was top lane, just have Audi respawn, walk bottom, and at least force them off the tower, take the chip damage, and rotate into a higher priority dragon, rather than just passively watching the game walk away from it.
To be fair, they've set up vision around the mountain. They haven't done it. And they definitely did not speed walk away from the Gave Atlas. That is just a weird image.
I needed to trigger you once again, Rusty. I'm sorry about that.
It's my favorite thing to do is trigger Rusty.
It means they will still look towards the Mountain Drake. Muppets.
Can I be animal?
I just missed this so much. Okay, well, the Mountain Drake is well and truly still there, but thankfully for AHQ, they managed to get Rift Scuttle vision. There is so much vision on the bottom side here for EDG, though, so if it doesn't happen, Frosker, and like you say it will, EDG are going to lose so much because they invested vision towards the bottom side, which is largely being cleared out now for AHQ. And if EDG don't move down there and get it, they've invested so much and got nothing.
Yeah, and it's about to get worse here. Hold on.
Oh, Valkyrie.
Here comes the charge.
Oh my goodness. Good exhaust from Scout as Audi is here. Clearlove making his way through the side as well, but is Scout even going to last? He uses the flashes there. The flash body slam. Westor, beautiful flash to get himself out of the way as Ziv now has been dismounted. They are going to move him out of the way. The Talia does pick up Audi, but Ziv is going to die. He knew it as well. It's a 1-for-1 trade.
Top laners just decided to go so hard on killing somebody and not protecting their own teammates. Kled just overcommits, and Audi does not even use his flag and drag to save his Corki's life. Just goes forwards and dies for it.
But I love how you could tell who the new guy is because they just left Audi to die. They're like, nope, get back to Scout. This guy's been here longer.
Well, of course, Scout can now clear out the minion wave, which would have been more difficult for Audi, so I do like the decision.
I just can't comprehend this decision from Audi. Save your Scout. Like, watch him. He has it all available. It's still available. No, go,
oh,
no,
gotta
go
get
in. Gotta get, yeah, absolutely. The Scout just tries to, like, really confused with that. I mean, it's just a trade.
I feel like Clearlove
Best
is
replay
the
analysis I've heard.
Clearlove is like the dog in a divorce, and you've got Scout the mom on one side, and you have the dad on the other side. He's like, come here, boy, come here. What are you gonna pick?
Really confused.
I don't know, guys.
That's my favorite analogy. Oh, brilliant. It's just a moment of favorites.
But what I was going to say is, okay, so tempo advantage still to EDG. The reason why Zet and Mako have been rotated up into this top lane is because they don't want to lose priority over the Rift Herald, which naturally has just spawned. You could already see before that play took over, AHQ were starting to eke their vision into the area, because by dropping that tower early, this is what this gives them primary control over. So there's a window where EDG can make the choice of, yeah, we'll give them Rift Herald and we'll trade Mountain Dragon, but naturally Rift Herald is the more important objective.
Especially right now, as it has just spawned. AHQ yet to get sole vision of the area. Their topside vision is actually quite good though, not wanting to get dove underneath that turret. Understanding that EDG had moved that bottom lane up there was an opportunity for multiple members to be in.
Yeah, of course, they've still got opportunities to be on the bottom side of the map here, EDG. You can already see them moving towards the objective. You have to challenge why are AHQ on the top side of the map. When the turret's already gone, they have no objective to secure, and EDG runs straight in.
Yep, Clearlove is looking for the kill here as well as Scout Valkyrie's over. Doesn't have any ability to get out of anything as the Skull is going to be dismounted. Kled is going to just shoot his way out of there.
Running out of
can they go to the Dragon now, though?
But they're running out of time on trying to make a play here. You can see that On is propping the wave up into the top lane. But again, it's not about that tower. It's about the Rift Herald. It's opening up the potential for AHQ to make a trade if EDG do commit to Mountain.
Well, Audi is going to head towards that top lane and take down the creep wave crashing into the inner turret. Arn is looking to steal away this red buff. Clearlove hasn't got many of his own ones. Did manage to steal the last one from AHQ though.
But the damage has been done. They chipped out a lot of the health bars. They're forcing Scout to back. AHQ had their pick of the litter about what they want to set up. Do we set up vision for the Mountain Dragon? Do we take the Rift Herald? Maybe we get some chip damage on mid lane. Looks like it's going to be Herald.
Yeah, you can feel the momentum. It's not even a large gold lead, not even really 2,000, but how they are influencing the map right now just feels that little bit superior. Scout going forward to try and de-scarl Ziv was overly aggressive, and you can see how that small detail then comes back to hurt him. And the question there is, why is he going so far forwards when he could just be poking with his rockets? And a lot of that is they're hard forcing for the Mountain to try and prevent a trade perhaps for the Herald, but it's an overreach.
Well, now it is going to be Rift Herald traded for outer and bottom side of the map as far as turrets, and most likely this Mountain Drake as well. So EDG trading up in the situation. Do like that. Salvis is looking to come around and deny that particular advantage, but Zet is going to make it a battle that he can't really win.
Mountain Drake just decides while he's inside the pit that he no longer wants to battle and just resets himself.
Just wanders around for a
You're
little
correct. They actually come up ahead.
This is what talking about speed walking does. Even the Dragon wants to do it.
The amount of gross noises that are coming out of like Gragas and Kench when they're next to each other though, it's just not my favorite sound effect to be plugged into there.
Well, Audi, this is not his favorite moment either, as he's not.
He seems to like it.
Okay, yeah, he's just going to jump himself.
He's got a Tom Kench with no ultimate walking up towards him.
I'ma lick him.
Yeah, he's walking the dog now as the knockup is going to come in. There's the flash out, and the root does actually land. He's going to be dismounted, and Ziv is in trouble. There's a Blade of the Ruin King in there, and Zet is going to be able to pick up his
But they've just summoned the Rift Herald in the mid lane. So whilst they go for this kill, they put a lot of effort into securing it. Scout's now stuck against the Herald and 3 members threatening the hooks on him. super lucky that they don't overcommit here, AHQ. They may have been able to just pick it up.
Yeah, it didn't spot Clearlove over the side, so not having vision of a possible flank because Mako had also disappeared in the fog of war. AHQ just played very conservatively, take the damage and walk away.
Almost the Korean way out in that case, if you were to look at it as an example. But the thing that they weren't mapping was the cooldown of Mako's ultimate, of course. Not just Clearlove being invisible, but suddenly there's still 4 people nearby. He didn't have it, but they assumed he did. So they pay their respects, and they do walk away.
Okay, it does mean that EDG are going to trade up in that instance as well, able to get that kill and not lose too much apart from health on the outer turret in the mid lane. And this outer turret on the top side of the map, after that wave has been pushed back, is looking good.
Not just that, of course, the bottom side's got big item spikes and a package there for the Corki, so they're looking to maybe prevent the trade. EDG are trying to make a risk now and one-up their opponents.
We'll see whether they can actually defend this. As you can see, actually, we've got Westor moving away. He's just going to shove towards that outer turret in the mid lane. Should be able to get this after the Rift Herald did do some work.
Abyssal Voyage is actually live now, so Westor, again, he's playing conservatively. He doesn't see where the Kench is, moves to the bottom side.
Okay, but Audi, he has no way of defending this outer turret, so nicely done. But look, EDG is still top side, trying to pressure towards that inner turret, or at least deny some sort of freeze, something like that.
Yeah, in these elongated tower trades, I agree with you. It was EDG actually kind of getting the better of a situation simply because AHQ didn't have the vision to make a confident play and really commit with how many resources they had spread over the map. You know, if they could see where Kench was, maybe Westor would step up, contest that mid tower.
Okay, Scout has to use his Valkyrie to get out of the way. Thankfully, it's just enough to avoid the threaded volley.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Westor hard commits to that trade, trying to bully him and push him away from the turret. It feels like they're just matching the health trade, and that's still an advantage for AHQ. Ghost was used, though, as well. They're trying to push Scout away as he is the wave clear. It's like when you're versing the Victor. If you can chunk him, prevent him from clearing the wave, then you have a higher chance of actually taking it.
Yeah, thankfully, Clearlove is going to turn up there as well. And at this particular point in the game, that Runic Echoes is going to help those barrels clear up minion waves as well. Scout goes back, and that's a frustrating fight. Just don't like a Brawler's Club. Feels bad. But does have a control ward, so we're feeling better about that one.
The first control ward that an LPL team has ever purchased.
I think that might be an exaggeration.
I don't know. Did you see the games yesterday?
Oh,
OMG
yeah,
didn't.
No one look at the mini-map.
But does have a control ward. Oh wait, is that because there's a control ward? EDG had learnt even prior to us noticing. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, Zet is going to set himself up. Piercing arrows there, not necessarily clearing out waves like they used to when the builder changed, but now it goes out. He could
that feels
knock
bad.
up. Yep. Okay, Mountain not going to have his flash anymore, and that is depressing.
Almost feels like the WE game where Mountain just suddenly appears in the side wave, and look at the time that you get on mid lane instead doing this.
Okay, Scout's going to get himself out. They are going to defend this turret. Nicely done. Yeah, I don't know whether it's quite the same as the prior game. Lee Sin this time feels slightly better.
Are you a Jaco or are you a Karsa, Lee Sin?
Well, that's
Fan?
the WE.
Oh, yes, that's true. Sorry, yeah, you did. I was talking about the Lee Sin prior. Not great. He didn't have his best performance thus far.
He's still new. Gotta get those sea legs going.
Need to shake the sillies out, potentially. Oh, okay, that was very, very close from Albus.
But they pick it up, and that's super important. The mid lane outer means they can stretch their vision just a little bit deeper into AHQ's side of the map. It's really hard as an Aussie to say that letter H.
H, 2K?
H. It's just an H. Just doesn't have a hurt sound, even if it does make a hurt noise.
But we had another situation where you could see that Ziv was kind of sitting down in the bottom river on AHQ vision, looking for the possible flank. But again, you know, the Talia wall wasn't available. They didn't feel like they had all of their ducks in a row, so they just conservatively let the play pass them by.
There's a lot of pings going down right now.
They're very on the way.
Yeah, in goes Mako and Zet. Unfortunately, there's a seismic shove that works out very well for Westor as Clearlove just body slams his way into the gullet of Mako and will be absolutely fine. But Arn, he's actually looking to go aggressive.
Ulted as well.
Goes the charge. As now Scout, he's there to back them up. 4 versus 5 is what it's looking like as the teleport is going to come in. This is going to be the full-on team fight as that AoE damage is massive out of EDG. Ziv gets himself over the wall and Mako just being a body in front of this fight and no one is going to be taken down. That was close, but looked good for both teams.
And that is such a dangerous fight because we are 25 seconds out from a Baron spawning. So both teams smartly figure out that, okay, this is not the time to throw the game and disengage.
And the scary thing there is EDG didn't even have their top laner, and people were starting to get chunked super low. Corky's got his power spikes from that Trinity Force. He's hit his level 11, so the breakpoints are there. Zet is doing damage, and Mako's tank enough to be able to sustain through a fair chunk of what was thrown at them, and that's where EDG can almost get themselves that team fight, but they don't. They're still looking towards the Mountain Drake as the primary focus.
I think it's kind of interesting that they've decided to choose these lane assignments. With Baron spawning, yes, the Mountain will be going live on its timer soon, but you'd think that it would be Corky bottom and Jarvan top lane.
It's not necessarily how it's being set up at the moment.
I
The
think
Mountain Drake there, maybe that's going to be the priority.
I think they figured it out.
Oh, we made an oopsie.
There he goes.
This
Actually,
isn't a teleport.
I have
Corky this time.
expectations of a lot of them just showing up with the Mountain Drake. They'll take the 5v5 for this, I believe, with their item spikes and the timing in the game for EDG. AHQ, they can either force the Baron, they can go to the other side of the map and trade. Right now they're forcing mid, but fighting a package Corky, you might just be waiting it out.
Yeah, and he does have his BF sword just completed now as well, looking for his Infinity Edge. We'll see whether he turns that Brawler's Glove into a Zeal. Zeal? What? How the heck did I forget
I don't know
the
where
name
you're going.
of a Zeal? That's ridiculous. Seems like Scout doesn't quite know where he's going either, as Weaver's Wall is going to block EDG off from this Mountain Drake.
But they could still hit it.
Yeah. Okay, Mountain's going to get his way in. This should be able to steal that one away, and it is going to be Mountain grabbing it, but has he sacrificed himself?
He certainly has.
Is it worth it? The package comes down for Scout and has closed the gap onto Ziv. In goes Mako, just wanting to get this fight as Albus might be the sacrificial lamb. He's so hungry as his catfish and gobbles up the Thresh. That is going to be the second kill of the fight. Flash is coming out everywhere. A party cask from Clearlove to celebrate the 2-for-0 trade.
And do not be fooled. It was by no accident that Clearlove didn't try to contest Smite that. He went for the jungle kill. He still has Smite. Their jungler is dead, and they're moving towards Baron.
Yep, that classic 21-minute LPL Baron. As soon as this purple worm spawns, it is under threat, as Westor is going to set himself up. Doesn't have the Weaver's Wall or anything like that to block
Really
in
risky
EDG.
from Westor here.
Okay, he's gone very deep. As the Pebbles are down, Scout takes a lot of damage. That is going to mean that the Baron goes over to EDG. Slam dunk. This is going to be the Varus that picks up the kill on the Talia. And AHQ get one back, but there's still 4 Barons.
And Westor surprisingly did a lot of work there because the Baron just got a 4-man stun onto the side. They're all sitting behind the pit. Of course, we get to see the Drake fight again. And he kind of looks towards it as the belly bop smite. You can't really beat the Lee Sin in that relative trade unless you body slam to interrupt it, but he was a little bit too late. So yes, they kill Mountain, they immediately go forwards, and a lot of this is actually still on Mako. The awareness to ult into cover distance needs to be behind them, or they won't get a pick. Their crowd control barely exists in that situation was very clever.
Yep. And the Hungry Tongue Canch looks so adorable. So that was a joy. I was not necessarily as excited.
I always love what you bring to a cast, Atlas. Just go the extra mile.
What? It was adorable. Don't you be facetious at me, Frosker.
I would never.
She says facetiously. Okay, Scout moving down towards the bottom side of the map, wanting to influence with his Baron buff himself.
With a lot of items coming out of him. He's closer to a mixed bucket, hasn't committed to his second item.
Did pick up the Zeal, if I remember.
He does definitely have the Sheen Zeal.
Okay, the shield. That's a shield.
And still with the Baron buff to be there as well. Thank you. He just keeps going.
Just silently under his breath. Shield. Power walk.
Whoa, we didn't need to go back there. I definitely adventured back towards
Turret's
the power
dead.
walk a little bit too much.
Thanks,
But yes,
Rusty.
Inniturret
Yeah,
is going to
advance
fall. Brilliant. Now going to move now towards the mid lane that Audi has prepared for them.
And I think the big fundamental thing here for a lot of the LMS teams is their mid-game team fighting starts to drop off. This is the second iteration we've seen of it. EDG, they get the Baron, immediately looking to press forwards and challenge AHQ.
Yeah, well, that's the hook. It's going to land onto Mako.
What's
It's
the
not
kick?
the target that they want is Mountain. He's looking for it, manages to get it back onto Zed as Zip. He's charging his way forward, but can't get through the Weaver's Wall. That's a bit of a disaster. Takes the Dark Passage, gets himself out, as Westor's going to be dunked towards the bottom side. But Mountain's dead. They take down the turret, and EDG, they don't lose anything bar a couple of health bars.
And Rusty, you were talking about, you know, the LMS as a region maybe making these poor team fights in the mid game, but I feel like it's also the decision making. That is such a high risk, low low reward play, because if you die there, it's pretty much game.
Well, it's looking like it's a bit of a disaster here as well, as the inhibitor is going to fall down. We've got a massive minion wave pushing for EDG on the top side at the same time. This is not all that they're going to be able to take. Seismic Shove goes completely wide, and EDG, they've broken open the base and taken over the game.
And again, by trying to force that team fight there, instead of just standing behind your towers and wave clearing, it means that you're not just trading the outer tower, but you're losing your inhib. High risk, low reward.
Yeah, AHQ, it feels like, again, the gold lead wasn't massive at that point in the game, but it feels like it for them. They're forcing against the Baron team, and suddenly the momentum swings, the pendulum swings to EDG. Their turn to push forward, their turn to make the advances. AHQ say, we're going to interrupt this, we're going to fight. Mountain hits a kick, Kled comes from behind, and Talia, this is actually my biggest concern with this. Scout and Zed are the targets that Ziv wants. He's now stuck. So he has to land into safety. And just like that, because of the health bars lacking, the time and summoner spells exhausted by AHQ by trying to engage against the Tahm Kench, which is really difficult to do, then they just brute force their way in.
Hold on, though.
Yep, now Ziv is in trouble towards the top side of the map. The Skull should be eliminated and Kled soon afterwards as he tries to use the charge. Gets himself out of the way. It's Clearlove's looking for the cast. They want more than just the Kled. Westor's going to be taken down pretty quickly. Now Ziv does get the remount. They do take down Clearlove as Scout. He's over the wall. Mountain misses the Q, but just kicks him in the head, and that's going to be that. Zet's going to be knocked over the wall, but Mountain should be able to take him down. No, Zet's going to pick up the kill. Mako lasts for so long, but Arn is doing so much work. And AHQ, they're going to get 4 for 2.
And Xayah just ran through them that team fight, completely untouched. You can see on pretty much full health on his health bar.
I'm going to bring this back one more time. EDG, you've just taken Kled off of Skull. Maybe just remove Kled from the map before he remounts one more time, because then he's pretty hard to kill again. They overcommit, they overexert themselves. Mako accidentally eats Clearlove. There's still these positive signs coming at EDG, but it's all crested over once again by giving AHQ chances to fight. Massive work coming out of Arn.
Yeah. And if you take a fight to Xayah, things can go very, very wrong. And it has meant the BF sword is coming in. Arn is getting to that 3-item spike with the Essence Reaver Infinity Edge Rapid Fire Cannon that we look for these Xayah players. And it's so much harder to break more of the base. We see this again.
And like you said, Rusty, it's overcommitting for that top laner and then not finishing the work here. I will say that Scout does a valiant effort as he's going to be taken super low, then go over the side, trying to put out as many rockets as possible. But Mountain's just going to get over the other side and end that Corki's reign of terror.
Yeah, at the same time, of course, the Varus does his absolute best, manages to secure Mountain, but look at the minimap. Where's your Jarvan? He walked from bottom lane, I'm pretty sure, just to get here at all, and he was not there in time.
Well, Mountain Drake number 2 is going to go over to EDG. Of course, it is number 3 theoretically, but it's their number 2. Going to be able to secure that one. 1.5 minutes before that Baron comes up once again, and the inhibitor still dead in the mid lane for AHQ. EDG looking to get themselves into a position to make a pick, but they have walked over Vision, and AHQ are not buying it.
Have 1:20 to try to push down this bottom inhib and make that Baron all the more free.
They just rammed their heads in.
Yeah, Scout's actually going to launch himself over the wall. Okay, that was aggressive. That was more of an icon play than a Scout play. I thought we were in the last game.
Because he has no mid inhibitor, to be fair, so he's able to work through that side of the map. It is definitely risky, I'll give you that. But what's more risky is just going straight in and taking it without him even nearby in the first place.
Just cover up the nameplate and just think of it as pawn.
Okay, I like it.
Yep.
Oh no.
Here goes the ultimate. Okay, Ziv is going to be knocked back. Not off Skull just yet as Westor's made his way over to the side. Doesn't find the shove as EDG are all going to get flayed back. This is the killing field now as Ziv gets dismounted. He's not going to die though as the kickback does come in. Clearlove going down very low. Scout as well, but he Valkyries out. And somehow they're able to live. Mako, the Grey Health still available, and EDG just wander out. They're going to casually back and maybe look for a Baron.
That was so dangerous though. Again, right before Baron